When in the previous session when I was sitting, and couple of comments which came were very, very encouraging, particularly the comments made by one of the colleague here about the model problem of being an entrepreneur, and which was very fascinating to see that people recognize that today there are a lot of critics available everywhere of any new ideas, and this project is not new to any of you, but this has also gone through a lot of critics. So the idea was, when the government also takes an initiative to do something, there are also lots of doubts and lots of negative comments to start with this project. And we also run into the same problem which runs in your mind, that any new ideas, why is interpreted that it cannot be done, instead of interpreting how it can be done. So I think this is the way that I think probably the thinking goes. And the second comment which came from one of the colleague, and particularly presented by Vishal, he was very open when he said that these are the areas in which we are not experts, which is infrastructure, he said real estate and commodities. And that is very good to understand that people say that this is not my expertise, so I am not going to comment on these areas, or I am not going to handle this. Versus there are people who would comment 10 things to you and saying that this cannot be done, and then when you ask them how it can be done, then the answer would be, sorry, I'm not an expert to tell you how it can be done. So when you have a 10 comments or 100 comments to offer by saying this cannot be done, and you have not a single comment to offer as to how it can be done, what areas are we able to manage within this, the way of thinking going on? So this project also has run into the same thinking processes. But fortunately, there was one individual who thought that this can be done. And at a most challenging time, this project got implemented. So the person who thought that this can be done is fortunately now the Prime Minister of India. And this was a vision that he laid upon in the year 2007-8, when he started this project. And believe me, friends, when we started this project, there was not a single expert in a financial world on a round table like this would say that this is workable. And there was only one person sitting in the front guiding this, was a believer that this can be done in India. And this was because of his visit to various international financial centers, where the second half of his vision is very appropriate if we really understand what is we are trying to achieve, is to have I think create a hub complete with infrastructure. That was the point. I think the infrastructure, somebody said, is very important in order to help the growth come forward. If you don't develop infrastructure, how are the new businesses going to come up? So in the same center, if you keep doing more things, it becomes more expensive over a period of time. So there are certain centers in India which has become very, very expensive for a new idea or for a new business to operate. And in that scenario, you need to come out with new areas and new cities or new centers which can help with a new infrastructure matching to what is required to be achieved. And with that as a vision, I think we started this project. But the problem in this was, between the year 2011 and 2014, everybody appreciated the concept when we discussed with them, but the problem was, the name of this project was Gujarat International Finance Tec-City. So the word Gujarat was a problem for everybody between 2011 to 2014. And post May 2014, suddenly the name remains the same, Gujarat International Finance Center, and everybody says your advantage is you have a Gujarat in your word. So sometimes when we analyze the project, sometimes when we go in details, we completely forget about the Gujarat is part of India, whether it is X or Y. And what you are trying to achieve as a part of Gujarat is what we are trying to achieve as a part of India. And I think if that is as a broader picture that we all see in this room, and probably that's where everybody has come here for an India Economic Strategy Conference. So we are talking of a broader perspective of understanding what can be done in India, rather than a small perspective of what is being done at one particular state or a city. So with that as an objective, friends, we also ran through a McKinsey analysis, whether an idea of an individual, is it really workable on ground or is it really viable? So when the McKinsey came out with the numbers, the very encouraging numbers were Indian financial services sectors were contributing around 5% to the GDP and will go to around 15 to 20% by 2020. So these numbers were very encouraging. It's not that it is only at one center that you can establish this type of activities. This will require at least 4 or 5 such centers in India to come up. The idea is somebody had to take first initiative as to where it can start with. And in Gujarat, we thought that this can be achieved, and it was the first attempt towards what the India requires as a global financial center today in the world. And the number of job potential that it has. I think most of you sitting here, when you go to Hong Kong, Singapore, you all meet your own Indian friends who is heading any other hedge funds, who is doing any other private equity, and they are all sitting in Singapore, in Dubai, in London, doing India business. So the question comes to our mind is, why is not sitting in India and doing the India business, or sitting in India and doing a global business? And that's where I think the problem of the law and comes up. So when this report came out in 2007, I think Ajay did a lot of work on this report. It really suggested that the International Financial Services Center, which can actually surpass the exports which an IT is able to achieve in India. And I think everybody in this room agrees that the way the IT products and the services has changed the made in India, no other companies could have changed that. So the mindset really got changed with the make in India as an important component, with the IT as an export of services. The same is with the financial services, because most of the Indians are heading this financial services in various parts of the world today. So we went further, we studied other international financial centers. So before commenting whether this is right or wrong, we kept on studying. We went to all the financial centers in the world, and we started analyzing what was that which was helping them to create an environment which will help the economy and help the jobs. So what we found was all the financial centers over a period of time, they all become a very important economic booster in the country or in the region in which they operate. So even a smaller center like Dubai now contributes around 12% to the GDP. And this, anyone who has, most of you have gone to Dubai many times, nobody would have thought that it can become a financial center. And today it has, the Dubai International Financial Center has got a lot of international financial companies operating from them, and they are able to achieve 12% in the GDP through the center. So why can't we as an India, which is actually helping them to achieve this number, establish an international financial center here and help our own GDP? So the common factor that we observed in all this financial center was, all these financial centers had a lot of Indian companies operating from them. Lot of Indian business being done from them, and a lot of Indian jobs being exported to the centers, rather than these centers being opened here, being operated here. So this was an underlying point which came to us, that India needs this type of center. Today when we are sitting here and discussing, there are 84 countries in which this type of centers are operating, whether in a small way, whether in a big way, whether it's a financial centers. 84 countries out of 189 numbers which we just got, 84 countries in the world have a financial center operating offshore activities from the region and making them more active in their operations. So there are various categories of financial centers. I'm not getting into this because I've been told to more focus on the urban infrastructure part of it. But just to highlight the numbers, and the numbers also were, which came out from this report, where if we don't develop an international financial center by 2015, in which we already reached, $50 billion every year will be exported to other financial centers by India. Now, this number can be easily achieved and can always be placed here in India, and it can actually bring in more businesses and add more values to what we are doing. So this is a clear export of services which we could have easily, which we can easily do here in India, and which we are doing it from outside other centers. So with that as an objective, from 2011 onwards, we got an approval to set up an International Finance Service Center in GIFT Special Economic Zone, SEZ. So we have two components in GIFT. One is the Domestic Financial Services Center, and another is an International Financial Services Center. We got the IFFC approved by the Government of India in December 2011. Here we are in January 2015, and we don't have an operating rules to operationalize the IFFC which has been approved by the Government of India. So between 2011 to 2014, we went to all the offices, we went to all the officials. Everybody said, yes, this is a very good idea. But as I told you, the problem is you have a Gujarat in your name. So between May 2014 to January 2015, all the officials of the various governments have visited GIFT, said what we can do and how we can achieve the IFFC. So now it has become a common platform for everyone that yes, this is recognized as an important financial centers. And yesterday at the Vibrant Gujarat conference, one of the leading government officials announced that the IFFC, which has been set up in GIFT, will shortly get notified and get operational from 1st April 2015. So this is a very important milestone which we feel is going to change the way the India do business for their international operations, for the offshore activities. And one of your colleague here, the Deutsche Bank, was asking me before I got into this room, is there an enormous number of companies like his who would love to set up their operations in an IFFC environment with proper rules and regulations, helping them to operate the way that they operate in Singapore, or they operate in Dubai, or they operate in London, or they operate in other parts of the world. And this is what Government of India is now doing. And we are very confident the way that the government is moving is faster than we thought ever. And there has been regular meetings, and the outcomes are expected to come out very shortly. So with that, I think the question would be, what happens if you get an IFFC? Is there anything that in a business changes? Yes, it does changes a lot of things. It helps us to bring in the offshore insurance, which today, as you all are aware, Indian insurance companies cannot issue a dollar-denominated policy sitting in India. So today, our own goods which get exported to, say, US, the dollar-denominated policies are issued from London or from Singapore. Whereas this business belongs to us, but the business goes to somebody else. It provides employment somewhere else. So this is going to change the way that the dollar-denominated operations are being done. Second important thing is, a lot of time people confuse this with the level playing field. There is no problem in the level playing field when an IFFC comes up, because the IFFC will essentially only deal in foreign transactions. It will not deal in Indian rupee. So when you operate from the center, you are only dealing into an offshore. It's a dollar, it's a pound. So it's a foreign currency. You are not dealing in an Indian currency to do business in an IFFC. So there will be no problem in the way that Indian other companies operate, or the companies which operate from an IFFC. And a classic example was when we took a 2.5-hour flight from Colombo to go into Labwan International Financial Centers. When we enter the Labwan International Financial Center, we suddenly entered into an office called GIC, the General Insurance Corporation of India, which is a reinsurer of India, and an only reinsurance company operating from Labwan Financial Center. And he says that he does a 12,000 crore insurance premium sitting in Labwan and reinsuring all the Indian assets. So we were surprised that why you are not doing this business from India. He said, I am not allowed to do this business from India by an RBI. So I have to necessarily come to Malaysia, because they have very tax efficient structure. They have a very operating efficiency in the way that we can operate. So these are the ways I think this all are going to help and change. But as I told you, and the important point was raised by you, sir, that you say that how is an infrastructure going to play a role? So we consider that these are the very important steps which needs to be taken. Fortunately, if you consider the bottom 5, we are very well placed in terms of sustainable local economy, political environment, highly developed infrastructure, which I am going to talk about, and the strategic location and the quality of life. So if I consider these 5 factors for GIFT as a location, we are very confident that it provides what is required. But the one which is something which the Government of India has to do, and which they are doing now, is going to change the way the operating easiness is going to come for setting up an IFFC in terms of their operations. So I take up why an infrastructure is very important for a financial center. And again we are asked the same question, that why can't this be done in Mumbai, and why you are doing it in Gandhinagar in Gujarat? Friends, we are not telling that this can be only done in Gandhinagar. It can be done in Mumbai, it can be done in Delhi, it can be done anywhere. The idea is you need to have a supportive infrastructure which helps this type of operations. So what type of infrastructure we are setting up, that's what I can talk of. We are setting up this as a globally benchmark international financial centers. When I say globally benchmark, it does not mean that I am comparing my city with any other city in India. We are comparing this city with any other cities of the world. So we went to Pudong, we went to Singapore, we went to other financial centers too, and figure out what is with an open mind, what could work in India from these financial centers. And we believe that we have got a right mix of infrastructure which would help the financial companies to operate. Our target is to create 0.5 million direct and 0.5 million indirect jobs. So we have 1 million people who are going to operate from the center, and in India, as we know, all the numbers are very large. And in the terms of jobs also, the numbers are very large because the potential is huge in this country in where we operate. This is just 12 kilometers from an international airport and a domestic airport. So just when you're out from an international airport, it just takes you 10 minutes to reach to the center. So the location wise, this is very nicely located in Gandhinagar, between Ahmedabad and Gandhinagar. So as a location, we have an advantage. Rather than taking a 2.5 hour flight from Colombo to Labwan, we thought that the center is not nicely located. But this is very nicely located in terms of operations. From Mumbai, it's just a 45 minutes flight to reach to this place. So it's not that far away from a financial center to this center. What is important is this picture for the GIFT. GIFT, friends, is a CBD, is a central business district. But it's not limited to a CBD, because we know the problem in a CBD, that if you have to go to that center taking 1.5 hours from morning your residence to that center, and in the evening you have to take 1.5 hour drive back to your home, you don't find to work in that center over a period of time. So you need a center which has a very in close proximity residential and other social facilities like club, hotel, entertainment areas. So this completes a picture for a new city. If you have a very well developed technology with a very quality infrastructure, retail come entertainment hub, transport facilities we consider very important, because coming and going out of the center is very important, where you have a metro, where you have a BRTS, all connecting to the center, and you have a social infrastructure in the form of school, hospital, club within the same zone. And at the end of the day, it will be a walk to work, because you are residing where you are working. So the moment in the 6:30 when you call your wife that my office hours are over, and in 5 minutes you are able to ring the bell in your home, everybody will be so happy that the quality of life improves in terms of your overall operations. How we are able to achieve this? I think in India we know that to achieve anything is very, very difficult, because when you go to one agency and that agency tells you that I'm a single window, and after telling you that I'm a single window, he tells you to apply, make a 14 applications of your project in order to give you approval. So you say, you told me that I'm a single window and I have to make a 14 application for getting the approvals. How come it is a single window? So what the government of Gujarat did in this was remarkable. I think everybody knows about the Jamshedpur, the way that the Tata runs that as a center. In the Article 243Q of the Constitution of India, Government of Gujarat went through that article and notified this particular center as a separate urban development authority than the existing urban development authority. So the advantage of this is any application comes to only one agency, whether it is getting your infrastructure, whether it is getting your building plan approvals, whether it is getting your planning permissions. You don't go to any other government agency for setting up your operations in this zone. To top of that, we got an environment clearance for the entire project, which means you don't have to even go for an environment clearance to the central government for setting up your building there. So this was what we consider was very important infrastructure initiative, although it is a development initiative, but without this, any center would not be able to survive if it takes 9 months or 12 months to give approvals. So when an international financial center comes up, and if we are able to give approvals in 14 days, we have all the planning approvals, everything online, and you apply, you get approvals in 14 days. This has helped us to bring in a lot of new companies to operate. We also got a notified committee, which means all the municipal functions are done by this company, GIFT. You don't have to go to the government, and you're not, dependent on the government to come and clean your road. So entire municipal functions of this area vest in the GIFT company, and we have a power distribution license for the entire city. Fortunately, in Gujarat, we have more than 4,000 megawatt power surplus. So there's no power problem in the state as such, but we also have a power distribution license in the entire city. This is the overall master plan of the city in which it's been developed. It has 886 acres of land area with 67% of commercial development, 22% of residential, and 11% of social facilities. So this is the right mix which we consider very important. Although we will have a larger number of people residing in the surrounding, so government have 3,000 acres reserved in the surrounding of this zone for residential and social facilities, which means the center will not be overloaded with residentials. It will have come in all the surrounding with a sustainable development in the overall picture. And we have this in the center, which is our International Finance Service Center, the SEZ, which is already approved, and the rules are being issued very shortly. So this is the center from which you are able to do all the offshore functions, offshore insurance, offshore asset management, and the other businesses which you consider. But the most important part is we ran into various infrastructure setups which were never done before in India. So our challenge was that GIFT as a city was completely a whiteboard, and we added all the components for which there was no precedence in India. So you can imagine that you start a new project with no precedence. The advantage is that you have all fresh thinking because you benchmark with other international centers. The disadvantage is that people don't believe you. So when we started with the GIFT as a concept, as a model, people said these are very good pictures. It will not go beyond this. So now when the things are coming on ground, they are saying, yes, I saw this picture earlier in your concept. Is this the same building? We say, yes, it is the same building. So now people have started, getting in more confident that yes, the pictures can be a reality if it is been done in a right way. So these all utilities, and I'm just taking few of them, are very important for India to achieve. I'm not taking up the transport in the surrounding, which has been well planned, so you don't have any problem. But we have considered that you have 4 metro stations within your center. From any metro, just 500 meters, you go to your office through an elevated walkway. So that makes the life easier for the people working. As someone commented that from junior level, you become directly the management. The middle level problems nobody knows. The middle level problem has been the transport. How to get into and get out of the zones has been very, very difficult. And that's why this probably will solve that problem of a center. We have 9 multi-level car parking in the entire city, and these are all reserved from the beginning, which means tomorrow when there are more and more people joining in, the plots are already reserved for building the multi-level car parking. They are not given away for commercial benefit. And when they come up, they help the entire city in terms of its loading, taking the load of the traffic and the transport and the parking issues of the city. And this is very important to have in a new city development projects, because otherwise the parking are very, very difficult. This is the first multi-level car park, which is already under construction. It has a capacity of 5,000 car parking in it. Everything in the city is made smart in terms of its usage, in terms of its connectivity. So as we know, when we park our car in Singapore, we know which multi-level car parking is available. The same system applies here. So there's no getting away from a technology if it is done from the beginning. Today, if you have to retrofit this into an existing city, it is very, very difficult to achieve this. But it is very easy to do in a new greenfield project, which is helping us to establish this. This is another important, that we started with the concept that there would be no plastic bottles in the entire city. So what we did was, this plant which is set up, the water treatment plants, you can drink water from any tap. And this is currently already achieved in the 2 commercial towers which we have built, where you can drink water from any tap in any office. It was very important to really talk, walk the talk in terms of the global financial center. So from any other financial centers you go, it's the same part you are able to experience here. We went to a district cooling system. I think the traditional air conditioning system which we all use are very expensive. and they are not green. But the district cooling, which the most part of the Dubai uses, was we considered very important to have in India, because the weather is almost similar to what the Dubai has. And 90% of the Dubai runs on district cooling, and in GIFT City, entire city runs on a district cooling. So there are no individual split AC or individual window ACs in the entire city. Entire city gets a chill water which gets converted into chill air and is supplied to each building. All this which I am talking to you friends is not on paper. Everything which I am talking here is already built, and I would love that any of you have, whenever time permits, should come and see these facilities which are developed first time in India. So these are not pictures, these are all built. The third important part which we have done is we set up an automated waste management system through NVAC of Sweden. Important part of this is there is no human interaction for collecting and disposing the waste management. You just put the garbage into the 2 chutes available to you in your office. It gets automatically sucked and disposed of through the centralized disposal plant. And from later on, we have a plan of generating electricity out of this waste. But this is again a first time happened in a city project, and this plant is almost ready and is now very shortly going to get commissioned. Power, as I told you, we don't have a problem, we have power surplus. Important is the last line, that we provide 99.999% reliability, because we have a tier 4 data center which is getting operational in this May, which requires this high infrastructure in order to be certified by the international companies. This, friends, I think you will appreciate more than anybody else. All roads in India are always gets dug because of repairing the power cables, repairing the water pipes, repairing the drainage pipes. Here in this city, all infrastructure is laid in a utility tunnel which is below ground, and that utility tunnel size is 7 meter by 7 meter. So a maintenance vehicle can go inside, repair it and come out. In this city, the entire infrastructure when laid down, you will not be required to dig the road to repair any of the utility problems that we face. So power problems, water problems, pipe problems, everything can be sorted out below the ground, and at the upper level nobody knows what had been the problem. Whereas today I think everywhere we see work in progress. So here in this city you will not see a work in progress, and this is 12 kilometer long. Phase 1, 3 kilometer we already built and is getting operational in this February. Information communication technology was very important for us, because any financial center cannot survive without an ICT. And this is all as an occupant you get when you come to GIFT City. So whether it's your Wi-Fi requirements, the entire city is Wi-Fi. The optic fiber has already been laid down in the entire city. So all the ICT infrastructure which you experience elsewhere in the world is all already available here. This was done by British Telecom as a master plan, and is now implemented by Cisco, Korean Telecom and Tata Communications. So they are our strategic partners who are already on board and who are already providing this in the entire city. There will be a lot of entertainment zone, because end of the day your serious business has to end up in a good environment. So many times people say that most of the things are finalized in a pub and the decisions are formalized in a boardroom. Same way you will have a lot of entertainment areas where you can informally discuss your proposals and sign it in the boardroom. Gujarat is a dry state, but in an SEZ it is already allowed in Gujarat that an SEZ is not a dry zone. So we already have a permit in an SEZ zone, and so you don't have to worry of that part if you are worrying about where the pub would be. Everything is through a common command and control center in the city. So suppose you come to the building and there is some problem in the building in which you are using. The first level corrections will be done at the building level, which is a building management system, intelligent building management system. If they fail, we have a common command and control center which can actually take over. Yeah. Intelligent building management system is already set up in the buildings, which then integrate to our command and control center. In case of any problem in the building in which you are, we can from a common command and control center bring all the lifts down, send and signals to all the fire brigade, to the police and everything, and these are all automated, done from the beginning. So this city will help everyone to operate in a very flexible and in a very smooth way. So any problems that can also be corrected. I think many times it happens that people say, you showed us a lot of good pictures, you showed us you talked a lot of good things, but actually kya hua hai? So we have 3 phases, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. Phase 1 is 10 million square feet of development, out of which we have sold 12.6. So we are oversold in phase 1. We are now 12.6 million square feet sold. All that I am talking to you is already on ground. This was the reason why I brought some pictures, because many times people don't believe in India. They feel that वो presentation अच्छा था, reality में क्या होगा पता नहीं. But the pictures here show that the city is already built, the city is under development, and the roads, street lights, water treatment plant, district cooling plant, power receiving stations, they all have been established. Automated waste management system, the utility tunnel, which I was talking of a huge tunnels taking all the infrastructure pipes inside, are already built. And we have certain people who are already been allotted plots here, which are 12.6 million, World Trade Center, State Bank of India, social facilities, then Tata Communication, Brigade, Bombay Stock Exchange. So these are all people who are already part of this city. They are already in the development of their projects here. Hiranandani Business Club, these are all given projects. So today we have reached to a stage of selling 12.6 million square feet with an investment of 8,500 crore already committed. So these are not an MOU, because today's figure of MOU was very scary when I saw 25 lakh crore MOU. But these are the firm commitments, these are signed commitments for which they already paid money to give. So these are not an MOU, this is an actual investment which has already happened in the city. And we already have currently 700 people working in the city. We expect to reach around 30,000 by 2016. And our target is to achieve 5 lakh jobs direct and 5 lakh jobs indirect in an overall. So with this, I think, as the chairman was saying, I would like to conclude here, saying that developing a modern infrastructure for financial services, friends, is very challenging. It's not easy. So I would request that, just brushing off any new idea would not be a good idea without giving it a proper thought, going to that center, understanding how they are trying to achieve, what are their challenges and how they are overcoming it, would help not only you but would help as a nation, because this is all a national assets. These are not a gift assets which is been built here. And we can actually overcome this challenging things by a systematic method, innovative strategies, a dedicated team and a strong management. And I think the GIFT City is already becoming a model to follow for another 100 smart cities which has been planned to be announced by the Prime Minister of India.